Hello and welcome to Prairie Pulse. Coming up a little bit later in the show, we'll hear music from Terry Mackner. But first, joining me now is the Executive Director of the new Fargo-Moorhead Science Museum, Josie Ballinger. First off, Josie, tell the folks a little bit about yourself and your background, maybe where you're originally from.
Sure. I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I spent most of my childhood there. When I was about going into middle school, my parents decided to move to the Twin Cities, where my dad is originally from. So I lived in the Twin Cities for, almost 30 years. I went to high school and college there. I spent my early career there in theater. I was a stage manager for many years. I have a background in theater and lighting design. And from there, I was working at a theater that's focused on youth development. And it's kind of a funny story, one of the parents in one of the plays that I was working in was like, hey, you're pretty good with kids. Why don't you come and work for my youth program? And she happened to be the director of the Kitty Anderson Youth Science Center at the Science Museum in Minnesota. So she recruited me to work over at the Science Museum, and I started there as a program coordinator way back in 2010. And I quickly fell in love with that kind of work. I loved working in a museum, working in youth development. I had kind of a childhood passion for museums. I really loved museums as a kid. And so it was kind of a dream come true to work at a science museum. From there, I worked my way up to Director of Business Operations, and I held that position for, about 5 years. The museum went through a little bit of a reorg, and I kind of scooted over to the philanthropy sector and worked for that same supervisor again. She had moved into a position at the Center for Prevention at Blue Cross Blue Shield, and so I headed over there to be her Director of Operations, and that kind of is what started my career in philanthropy. So I worked in corporate philanthropy for a little while. And then I decided it was time to move back home to Milwaukee. I unfortunately suffered a layoff in that position. So I just wanted to be home and be with family. So I moved back to Milwaukee and stayed with family and got a job at the Greater Milwaukee Foundation doing operations and helping to run their capital campaign. And that's where the Fargo-Moorhead Science Museum found me. They retained a recruiter who talked to some of my former colleagues at the Science Museum in Minnesota and convinced me to apply for the job, and here I am.
Well, with that said, here you are. So what is the Fargo-Moorhead Science Museum?
Sure, it's a new science and technology museum focused on the STEM assets, artifacts, and industries of the region. It's going to be a fully, immersive, interactive museum. We hope to not only be sort of a community asset for local visitors, but to attract, for tourism and visitors coming to the area. I know this area attracts a lot of visitors from around the state and region and even Canada that come here for hockey tournaments and to shop. And so we want to have another place for those folks to go.
Oh, great. So where are you now in the planning and the building process, and where will it be housed when finished and ready?
That is the question of the day. I get asked that almost daily. So right now we are looking for a site. We have a couple of sites in mind, one in Fargo, one in Moorhead. We looked at a site in West Fargo. There's a lot of great places where we could put this museum, and so site selection is kind of the toughest decision that I'll have to make in this job, I think, in building it. And so we want to make sure that we're making the right decision and making it carefully. So we're just factoring in all sorts of things, parking, accessibility. Is it easy for locals and tourists to get there? Is there a way to create placemaking, which is sort of creating sort of an ambiance and neighborhood around the museum that so the museum feels welcoming both inside and out, and that we're a great neighbor to our neighborhood. So it's a big decision, and we just haven't made it yet. Okay. We're hoping to make it within the next 3 to 6 months, so maybe I'll be invited back with that announcement. But yeah, meanwhile, we're working on our visitor experience planning. We've retained a consultant and exhibit design firm out of Oakland called Gyroscope, and they're helping us sort of come up with exhibit concepts and do some of that pro forma business planning, making sure the museum is sustainable and has a strong business plan. We have enough space to fit all the exhibits, and we have enough classroom space for our educational programs, and the museum is easy to get to and easy to navigate.
Well, with that said, what's the target date for being open to the public? But also a little bit of question, how big a space are you looking at?
Yeah, great question. So we're kind of landing around 60 to 70,000 square feet of total square footage. The exhibit space will probably be between 20 and 25,000 square feet. We're hoping to open, gosh, I hate to even put a date on it. It's so hard. We're hoping to open around 2026, but with construction projects, I reserve the right to edit that date. Okay. So yeah, we want to get this place open and able to serve the community as soon as possible.
Okay, so let's talk about what all will be at the museum. How will it be curated?
Yeah, so science museums aren't curated in the same way you think of art museums, where you have sort of a traditional curator who acquires art and artifacts. We certainly do, intend to hold a collection, because that is the responsibility of a museum, to be a steward of local artifacts and collections. But we want to be as interactive and immersive as possible. So we've got about what we're calling zones, about 6 zones in the museum that have a different sort of STEM focus. We have a zone that a rather large zone that's focused on the Red River and sort of the geology of this region. We have another zone. Of course, we have a zone that has dinosaurs in it. We can't have a science museum without dinosaurs. So we have a zone called Science and Fiction, not science fiction, but science and fiction, that sort of incorporates so all those sort of dreamy pop culture things that, if you can't dream it, you can't do it. You have to sort of imagine things before you can make them come to life. And I think science fiction is really valuable in that way, to allow people to imagine what new science could be. So we have a zone that's sort of focused on that. We definitely are incorporating a ton of local industries like biotech. There's a lot of great biotech companies in the area. Farming and entrepreneurism and all the technology that goes into farming is a huge part of our exhibition concept. One of the things that I thought was really great that happened recently was the opening of Grand Farm. And so we want to make sure that we are highlighting those kinds of STEM assets in the area. We have another zone that is focused on it's called Into the Storm, and it's focused on climate and sort of all the climatology that happens that's specific to this region. There was a famous tornado that happened here in the 50s. We want to tell that story. And we also have a zone called We're in This Together that's focused on care, repair, and making. And that zone will actually be a free zone. So it's really important to me and the board that this museum is accessible to everyone. And so I really thought it would be great to have a portion of the museum sort of on the free side before you enter past the pay threshold, so that even families who cannot afford it or can't afford it often still have a place to go, especially in these long winter months. Have a place to go to have some fun. And we have activities that we're planning in that zone in particular that are a little more in-depth, that take more time to do and sort of get into, so people can really spend time with us if they want to, and experience the museum even if they can afford to go or not.
Yeah. Will there be changing exhibits, traveling exhibits, in addition to all the what I'd call permanent things you've named there?
Sure. So we're designing the museum with a little bit different, in a little bit of a different sort of constructive way, so that exhibit content can change frequently. It's super expensive to turn over large exhibitions, and we want to make sure this museum is sustainable, but we're building the content in a way that the content can be switched out and can be updated and made more relevant as the museum goes along. We're also planning 5,000 square feet of a flexible space, and that's sort of where those traveling exhibits will go when they're in town. We're hoping to have a couple of them a year, but use that flexible space for other community events in between, and weddings and corporate events, and anything. We want to be a space for the community, so anything that the community can dream up, we'd be happy to put it in that 5,000 square feet.
Okay. Well, would this one have sort of the look or maybe the feel, anything like the Science Museum of Minnesota in St. Paul?
I often get asked that because, I am a Science Museum of Minnesota alumni. And so certainly the Science Museum of Minnesota has had a huge influence on me and my career. And I have, a real fondness for that museum. In fact, Allison Brown, who is the president and CEO, was one of my biggest advocates in helping me land this position. And so I'm really grateful to the Science Museum of Minnesota and the work they do there. But I also want to put sort of my own stamp on things and make sure that it's different than the Science Museum of Minnesota. It's an easy trip. It's only a 3.5-hour trip for folks here to go there and experience the exhibitions there. So I want to bring value to this area. I want to bring something that you can't just get with a 3-hour trip, something that's different and specific to this region and feels reflective of the heritage and culture here. So I hope to be, there's going to be a little bit of influence, but naturally, but I really want to make it different. And I want to make it different than any museum that's ever been built before, not just the Science Museum of Minnesota.
But now, can you talk about, what STEM is real quick, and
Sure.
how it plays in to your museum and maybe the educational components you'll have?
Sure. So STEM is an acronym for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. And STEM will be sort of the core content of our museum. Of course, we'll have some natural history, but the STEM is what we really want to focus on. I think it's pretty well known that the STEM workforce is one of the fastest growing workforces in the country. STEM jobs are vital to the success of our not just local economy but national economy as well. So we want to make sure that we're exposing people to as many sort of STEM disciplines as possible so they can see the possibilities for themselves and see science in their everyday life.
Yeah. We have other educational programs as well?
Yeah, so I'm hoping to have programs for both youth and adults alike. Adults like to learn as well. We're lifelong learners, so I want to make sure that there's not just an adult night. Of course, that's fun to have a date night at the museum, but also adult programming where they can sort of take classes and get nerdy and sort of experience STEM like a kid again. Of course, there'll be camps and classes for youth for time when school isn't happening in summertime and weekends. And then I really want to make sure that we don't leave out teenagers and college students. I feel like sometimes that age group gets overlooked because they're not old enough to drink yet, but they're not, young enough for some of the traditional programming, educational programming you see in museums. So I really want to make sure that they have a place to go and feel safe and welcome and can help lead them to possibly a STEM career.
Mm-hmm. Well, can you tell us about the fundraising and kind of what the final cost of the museum will be?
Yeah, that's where rubber hits the road, isn't it? So we're looking to raise right now, with all of the exhibitions that we're planning, around $60 to $75 million, I would say. I feel like the cost of construction and materials goes up every second that we speak here. So, it's an expensive endeavor, but certainly worthwhile and really needed for this community. Mm-hmm.
Sure, yeah, but. And what about your board of directors? And because I assume you're working for a board of directors.
Yes, I have a fantastic board. It's probably a younger kind of board. It's a working board, so they're actually doing. I'm the only employee, so they're actually doing the work of the museum. They're getting their hands dirty and getting in the work with me. They come from all over the region, all over the city. Backgrounds I have someone with a background in biotech and healthcare. Our founder, Jesse Rock, who started this project back in 2018, is a geology professor at NDSU. There's a couple other professors at NDSU, so we have, academics and folks who are in real estate. We have a former science teacher. We have someone who works in marketing. We have someone from the tourism board. We have someone in hospitality. So I've got a great sort of diverse working board, and they are fantastic.
Well, you said you're the only staff person right now.
Right now.
But how many employees and staff do you anticipate?
About 40. So I'm hoping to bring about 40 jobs to Fargo-Moorhead. A mix of full-time and part-time, and certainly volunteers. You know, volunteers are the lifeblood of museums and are super important. They work, you know, on the floor with visitors. They help with collections. Volunteers are vital to a sustainable organization.
Why are museums and a museum like this important to Fargo-Moorhead and the surrounding region? And I guess that would be defined for almost any region. So,
Sure.
Tell me about that.
So I think museums are important because they give us insight into our history, our culture, our heritage, and I think they're really vital for any community. As this area grows, Fargo-Moorhead is one of the fastest growing communities in the country right now. It's important to have community assets like this to attract new people to the area, to attract workers to the area, to attract families to the area. So there's entertainment and education and things for people to do. So I think this area really needs a science museum. We've got a great art museum. We've got a great air museum. There's a smaller art museum in Moorhead, but there isn't a science museum. And science museums are just different. They're more interactive. There's more things to do in them. You can spend more time in them. Museums are trusted in the community. They can help bridge divides between communities and social divides and political divides. And so I think a museum here is really important.
Yeah, you've talked about your career some in nonprofits and things. And can you talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and how that will play into the new museum?
Yeah, this museum wants to be as inclusive as possible. Our mission is breaking barriers to ignite the curiosity in all of us. And I want to make sure that this museum is accessible to everyone. And one of the most powerful tools of inclusion is for people to be able to see themselves. So it's important that everyone is represented. We have scientists from all stripes of life and all backgrounds that are represented in our museum. We have ways of knowing science that are represented in our museum. And so when people walk through the door, no matter what background they come from, they can see themselves in science.
Mm-hmm. So you talked about your career early on in the show, and you've been here, I think you said, since about August.
Yeah.
So what have been your impressions of the region and this area here?
Besides the cold weather, people are super friendly here. I've felt so welcome since coming here. I've made so many friends just in the last few months, and I feel like everyone is willing to lend a helping hand. So, you know, people are coming out of the woodwork to sort of help with this museum, and it seems like there's a lot of community support for the museum and for my work. And yeah, people in Fargo-Moorhead are just so friendly and so welcoming. It's a great city to move to if you have to move.
Well, you talked some about getting up and running by 2026. Mm-hmm. You can change that date, I heard. But how can people get involved now? How can they donate?
Sure.
What might they do now?
Sure. So you can donate on our website, and if you want to get involved, there's a contact form on our website. But if you're a person who feels really passionate about STEM, about science, about museums, and you really think that this place needs a museum, and you really want to come in as a major investor, send us a message through the contact form on our website, and I'll meet with you directly. You don't have to just, drop in and give something on the website. I'd really love to meet with donors and get them excited about the museum as well.
Well, with that said, so if people want more information, where can they go? How do they contact you?
Sure. They go to fmsciencemuseum.org. We can also be reached through our Facebook page, through our Instagram. We have a contact form on our website. You can also email us at contact@fmsciencemuseum.org. So yeah, we're easy to get a hold of.
All right. Well, Josie, we wish you the best of luck. We look forward to having you back once you're open and running.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Stay tuned for more. Terry Mackner is a charismatic country artist from Gary, Minnesota, who has recorded albums in Nashville and toured the Midwest. He's always working on new material and likes to collaborate with other musicians. Here he plays It Feels Like Yesterday and She Looks Good.
I remember the day we first met. It was like yesterday. The way she moved across the floor just blew me away. It was like yesterday. Yeah. It was like yesterday when she had what when I asked her on a date. And the way that she looked at me, I knew I'd have to wait. I couldn't wait to see her again. I creeped on her Facebook page. Oh, it feels like yesterday. She was sipping on a drink to the left of me. Please just look my way. She was putting on a front for me, but I couldn't look away. It was like yesterday. It was like yesterday when she had what when I asked her on a date. And the way that she looked at me, I knew I'd have to wait. I couldn't wait to see her again. I creeped on her Facebook page. Oh, it feels like yesterday. It feels like yesterday when she had what when I asked her on a date. And the way that she looked at me, I knew I'd have to wait. I couldn't wait to see her again. I creeped on her Facebook page. Oh, it feels like yesterday when she had what when I asked her on a date. And the way that she looked at me, I knew I'd have to wait. I couldn't wait to see her again. I creeped on her Facebook page. Oh, it feels like yesterday. It feels like yesterday. It feels like yesterday. She likes to drink Tennessee whiskey. She likes to roll a little smooth. She likes to drive a pickup truck down some back old country road. She likes to go skinny dipping in a pond on a hot summer night. She won't hesitate to jack your jaw and then go dancing till the sun comes up. She might be a little bit crazy, but I like the way she moves. She looks good, good in them blue jeans. She looks good in them cowboy boots. She likes to hunt, she likes to fish, she likes to do what she do. She gets her crazy from her daddy. There's nothing that this girl won't do. She might be a little bit crazy, but I like the way she moves. She looks good, good in them blue jeans. She looks good in them cowboy boots. Oh, she looks good. she comes, all I see is a cloud of dust trailing up the road. She's like a hurricane in a tornado. That girl's ready to go. She might be a little bit crazy, but I like the way she moves. She looks good, good in them blue jeans. She looks good, woo! She looks good. She might be a little bit crazy, but I like the way she moves. She looks good, good in them blue jeans. She looks good in them cowboy boots. How she looks good. She looks good. How she looks good.
Well, that's all we have for Prairie Post this week. And as always, thanks for watching.
Funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4, 2008. And by the members of Prairie Public.